We are ready to jam. Alright, so the last time we left, sorry about that. The last time we left off on this series, we looked at the tools that we were going to use. So everyone should already have Clips. They should have Notepad++. They should have they should understand GitHub, and they should have Windows for GitHub. Um, and I feel like those are the main ones, but we also covered some auxiliary stuff that, we're going to go. And we had talked about how we might or might not make this a Maven project. So, we also, in the first series, kind of set everything up as I was setting it up. So now it's time for y'all to see what it looks like being set up from your side. And I have decided that we are going to do a Maven project. The main difference between a Maven project and a non-Maven project is that if you remember the step where we downloaded the CraftBucket jar and then we added it to the project, that's changed because we actually do that in a XML file, and it automatically gets downloaded to whoever's working on the project based on the CraftBucket website. So that part is not totally necessary because now it's automated for you guys. So let's just kind of quickly go to GitHub. Okay. And I want to talk about the flow of events. So the first thing is that you'll see a KOTC tutorial project in my repository. So let's say, and I'm going to bring up another browser, and we're going to go to GitHub. Oh, it's up to this little lame one. Alright. We're going to log in my Internet Explorer browser as another person. Let me just take it off here, log in. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so for this, I actually already pre-created a user called Fultrum Test. So it is close to my name, but don't get it too confused. Okay. So here's the flow that we're going to use to do stuff. So the repository, let me just pull it over here. This repository is actually this URL right here. So if you go to it, and remember this is this would be as you basically. So if you went here, then you would see basically the same thing because it's a public tutorial. You're going to do two things. One, you're going to create a fork. Okay? And what a fork does is it allows you to take everything that we've done up to this point and clone it so that you can do whatever you want. Okay? So, and you can do this on the CraftBucket website, or the CraftBucket. You could actually fork it, and that's where projects like Spigot and there's another one that sounds like water, whatever they used to be. But these people have forked that project, and then they recreate it. Now, you could fork it and totally do something way different that no one else has ever done with it and go in a totally different direction and have our baseline code. However, let's say instead of you doing your own thing, which is not really the point of this tutorial, let's say you do it as, and by the way, I would say that in this license, there's actually a custom license file. I'm calling the license the tutorial license because you're allowed to do basically anything to the code except basically make it your own. Okay, so um, without too many restrictions. It's fairly open license, but there are some restrictions because the point is for you guys to learn, not to steal ideas. And you should never really do. Although we will be talking about how to look at and decompile someone else's plugins, so you can see how they did it. But once again, when we talk about these kind of topics, we're not talking about these topics because we want you all to steal other people's work. We want you to be able to see how people are successfully accomplishing tasks and programming that you want to do on your own. And then it's through, because the law says, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't take too much weight on this, but in America, basically the way the law works is that you can, um, no one can own code. So you can create something very similar, but as long as you're not creating exact copies of things, it's just got to be different enough to be your own. You can't because you're using the language, and that just makes logical sense. All right, so it's actually done. I want to notice a couple things on this page. One, this is actually my repository now. You're looking at my repository. As you can see, it says Fultrum Test. And that's what I mean. You're looking at I should say your repository, I guess. So this would be what you would see. You'd see that it's a forked. You'd see where it's forked from. See, it's Fultrum, KOTC. Your name, and then your project name, which is a copy of the thing. And then you would clone this into your desktop. Now, if you have GitHubs for Windows already installed, it's going to ask to start it if you haven't already opened that program. Yes, allow. Yes, my computer can handle all games on ultra settings, but can't open GitHub for Windows. That's awesome. Alright, where are you at? Why'd you hide? Oh, it's still loading. Okay, it's just, I should have opened before we got this far. Oh, I think it's finally loaded. And now it's copying it over. That was the one thing that it didn't do. Alright, so let's GitHub. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I think it just like opened a task in the background. Now, because of the way that I work, obviously, I have to like check who I'm logged in as. So let me switch this over and log in as me. And that tickle is not going away. Alright. Alright, so now you can actually see what let me make sure I'm logged in as who I am. Alright, we can actually, for the purpose of this, I'm going to remove these because I want you guys to see how this works from your end as much as possible in this session today, because we already talked about how to manage ours. So I got a free account. I logged in. Now I just need to, I can change this clone path. In fact, I am, for the purposes of our task, if you remember, we are doing our work from my F drive. No. My F drive is for something else. We're using this drive. Yeah. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm literally going to remove this. And I'm going to select that folder. Okay. There we go. Update. Alright, so now... Oh, it opened two of them. Okay, so now, as you can see, I'm logged in as you. And now I'm going to do clone to desktop. It's going to allow. Please don't ask me that anymore. And it should put that Here we go. Perfect. In the workspace folder. I just wanted you guys, like I said, see it from your perspective. And feel free to ask questions or talk about things as well. I can see the text and I will respond. Alright, so now, and now you can see a little icon where it says it's forked. Okay. Um, and you can see all the commitment changes that have been made. You can look through them. You can see this is the old license. I started with the Apache license, and then you can see that I changed it to a custom license, which is very similar. You can read all of it at the BinPress license view, blah, blah, blah. But basically, this is what the license says. It doesn't expire. You can use anywhere. You can't resell it or redistribute it. You can't use it for commercial purposes. You cannot modify your distributions to other people or other sources. You can only distribute it back to me. And the purpose of the tutorial, blah, blah, blah. You can also see that I set some stuff up and made some changes, yada, yada, yada. And we're going to talk about some of these initial setups that I made, because now we're going to load our Eclipse. Wow, I hope I'm not getting sick again. Okay, so... Oh, I don't want to use that one. We want to use this one for testing. Got my JREs in. Alright, so I'm going to load Eclipse. My workspace is eWorkspace. Makes it super easy. I'm going a little fast, but once again, these are things that we covered in the first tutorial. So if you don't know what Eclipse is, you don't know what I'm doing, you don't know what a workspace is, those were all covered in the first one. I am going to remove this because this is probably me setting it up as me, not as you. So now we're going to go open. We're going to, we can do this one of two ways. We can import, actually, here's what I would suggest we do. Let's go to new. Let's go to other, because you don't see it there. We're going to look for Maven, because most of the time when we have a Maven project, they kind of anticipate that it might be from another source. So during the setup, you can actually add various options to it. But the two that, if you were creating a new Maven project, I do want to cover this. If you were to create a new Maven project, you would select these two options. Make sure your location is set as you want it to be. Remember, you set it as the workspace, not the name. Okay? Otherwise, you would have like KOTC-tutorial in a folder with a subfolder of KOTC tutorial. It would nest its own self in, if that makes sense. And then you would enter, the requirements are the group ID, the artifact ID, the version, and the packaging. Group ID is the same thing as who you are, so it would be that co.kotc group identifier. That's us, that's the tutorial group. The artifact ID would be what you wanted to call it. So once again, you remember this mostly. I will just type an example because I don't want to get you guys too confused. Now you can drop down here, but really this is a type-in field too. So when I went in, I literally just did this, and you want to leave jar as jar. So if you do this and you click new, if you click finish, you're actually, oh, because example can't be created, blah blah blah. But if it was anything other than example, it would have created a new project. Now we can go to, once you've downloaded it, this is what you would do for our project. I just want to quickly go in and how do you create a Maven project because we didn't cover that last time. And dot project. And that can allow you to open up individual things, like you can open individual files and stuff like that. And then the last part is you import, and that's how you take ours and move it over. So those are the three different, and you would click existing Maven projects, you go to root directory, once again, workspace. This one's a little bit different because you're actually selecting the subfolder because it exists. It looks for that POM file because POM's the key file to, unlike .project where that was our main file for the basic Java project, with a Maven, everything's controlled through pom.xml. That is the difference. We're still going to use like plugin.yml and stuff like that. .class path still has some bearing, but it's not nearly the same as it was. Okay, so we click finish after we select that, and it literally should load all the stuff that we need. I'll let it run in the background. And it's literally just going to set everything up in our folder as it needs to be done, which should be pretty freaking fast. Now, as you can see, I've already created some stuff. You can see stuff popping in right now. The thing that's popping right now, remember how we had downloaded this and we had to set this up, and I was telling you how you guys were going to have to do this all by yourself not next time? Well, the advantage of a Maven is that it's automatically going to grab any repositories or things that are required. So it automatically grabbed the JRE 1.7 because it's defined in the project. It automatically grabbed bucket 1.7.9 because it's defined in the project. I guess the next most obvious question is why am I not using 1.7.10? Unfortunately, the website that allows us to set up a Maven for CraftBucket only does certain versions and 1.7.10 because of its status. Let me check if that changed. The way that we could check this one of two ways. I'm actually pulling up the repost site right now. Okay, so all right, and we want to go to org bucket craft bucket. This is literally what it's pulling from. So the latest version they have is 1.7.9 R03. So you can do anything from snapshot 1 on effectively, but they haven't released it yet. Now, let's see how close we are to getting that from happening, because one of the things you can look at is dl.bucket.org. Hey Jesus, how you doing? And you can click alternative versions, and you can see which ones are in here. It only is going to allow, now you can see that it allowed R03, and the only reason it's really allowing R03 is because that's the UID, or the UUID change. The unique identifier, or the unique user identifier name. And that is this version, or one of these few versions right here. And it's rare to see a development build in there. Now, the other way to look at this is anytime you see the word snapshot, because they're using Maven rules, anytime you see snapshot, that means it's effectively a development build of some sort. It's a lesser build, because R02 is this beta build, and the beta build is this one right here. So then they're, after June 1st, then they create a snapshot of it, which is very common for them to do, even though you don't see it on here. And then they created that one. Let me just make sure that's, yeah, that's true. Okay. Ooh, I got someone at the door. I'm going to just put you guys on hold for 1 second. I'm going to put up as a booming break, and I will be back in like a hot minute. Oops, booming break needs to go to the top. All right, we will be right back. Just give me a second. Oh, I'm back. Okay. I was wondering why my headset wasn't showing yet. All right, let's turn off the boomy. Yes, he is the best. He's also one of the grumpiest dogs I've ever met. He's like so smart that you can see him just be like any good toddler would do and just be like, yeah, no. And he'll represent that by like huffs. He literally huffs at me. He goes, it's so adorable. Like he won't want to do something or he gets frustrated. He's like, I literally was doing that just now, and he's like, what? And he like turned around and put his back to me because he thinks I'm making fun of him. Okay, so uncommitted changes. There is. Why did it add these other things in there? Oh, they're the exact same thing. That's important. It's okay. Alright, so let's go to Eclipse and let's look at our code. Okay, so there is something that I've done, and I actually used the very beginning of it. However, literally, if you were just joining in this stuff, if you download this, you're going to get all this already done for you. So we've already, as we covered last time, we already got a git logger for on enable and on disable. Just a refresher, on enable is what occurs in the plugin when the thing loads. On disable is what occurs when you restart the plugin. It also is what occurs when you shut down the server. So it's very similar, but as you notice, unlike the previous example where we had all of this in quoted text, there's now this thing here where it just says plugin name. Um, and I remember I told you guys that we can pull any of the variables that are established in the plugin YML. Please don't open it there. We can call any of these variables and use them as variables. Now, if you're brand new to programming or scripting, a variable is, if you remember back in like algebra, like very basic, like x equals, x plus 1 equals 3. What is x? Well, x is 2, because 2 plus 1 equals 3. And that x is a variable. In algebra, all variables are some sort of number. And in many cases, we can, and we'll talk about like different types of numbers, but in programming, there's different types of numbers. There's numbers that are whole numbers, which have no decimal points. Then there's numbers that have decimal points. Then there's numbers that are special because they're like dates. So all these different types of number sets have different variables. But if something is just a string of characters, we talked about this. It's called a string, and that could be anything from smashing your head on the keyboard to a variable that we define in a file or anything like that. But let's talk about how we've and what it's called in programming is called initializing. It's called initializing your variable. But for most of this tutorial, we're just going to call this how to set it up. How do you set up your variable? Because honestly, I'm not big onto, oh, this is a constructor, and oh, this is a method. In fact, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that when it comes to programming, yes, there are some standards. Yes, there are some best practices to prevent some bad things from occurring, but ultimately, there is no wrong. There is a wrong way, but there's no wrong way to program. If it works and it doesn't get errors, then it's totally a valid way to do it for your code. You may later find out it's not the most efficient way, or there's a better way to do it with new code as you add new levels of complexity. And you may want to go back and change to use those new, not to confuse you guys, new styles, or those new ways of doing it. But just keep in mind, there's really no wrong way if it works. There's just less efficient ways and alternative methods and alternative choices to make. So we're going to initialize, aka start this plugin, or this variable, I mean, and we're going to do that by saying it's a public variable. Um, it's final and static. Once again, public means that other classes and packages potentially could call this. It is final, which means that this is it. It is totally not going to change. This is when you use final, you generally don't have some sort of open-ended variable and we'll go into that later where we can like define a function or a method or something else that like comes into this equal sign. But basically, this is it. It was whatever it is. It's static, and you're like, well, isn't that like redundant with the final? Yes, they mean very similar things. Um, but for the purposes of why I have both of them here, I don't want to get you guys too confused with the nitty gritty of this. You usually will not use final static. You usually will use one or the other, or something like that. So all this right here, these two words, we could literally just delete, and this could remain the same. It might later on bite us in the butt, but literally, if it makes it easier for you guys today, we can just leave those two words out, okay? Because at the end of the day, for the purposes of this code, hell, this could be private. Because all we've got is this. We're not calling it from anywhere else. Okay, so ignoring all that part of that purple text. Whoops. The thing that really matters is one, string. Remember, capitalization matters. String is a character set of letters, or numbers, objects. Um, a string could literally be one of those heart symbols because that's a character. So any of your ASCII like little symbol things, that could be a string, a part of a string, or it could be all of a string. So spaces get a little complicated sometimes, but as you can see here, we can always capture spaces with quotes, and that's it. So string is what we're defining. It's the type of the variable. It's a string type of variable. Plugin name is the name of the variable, just like X, except instead of calling it X, we could call it X. We could call it X, but we'd have to change this one and this one to X also. So we can call it whatever we want. For the purposes of our tutorial, the scheme, the system that we're going to use to identify, hey, this is a variable, is we're going to use lowercase for the first word, capitalization for any second or third words. If you recall, we have decided that for classes, we're going to use capitals for all words. So KOTC is one word, tutorial is another word, so it's capital, capital. If it's a variable, it's lowercase than capitals. Okay? And that's going to flip it, so let's undo that. Try not to get too far ahead too fast, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys clearly understand what's important and what's not. Public means we can use it other places. String means what type it is. And look, I moused over and it's giving me an example of what it is. Represents character strings, such as ABC. It could also be 1, 2, 3. If it was 1, 2, 3, then even though there's numbers in there, they wouldn't be seen as numbers. They would just be seen as a set of characters. That's it. So we would have to do some special coding magic to make them back into numbers. And we will do that frequently when it comes to saving data and moving data later on. Once we've got this piece right here, that's basically X. All this right here is nothing more than X. How global is it? What type it is? Exactly. ABC. CZ is 1, 2, 3. Now, we have to create an equal sign. So what does all of this equal? Well, if we got rid of, let's just move this off to the side because we want to be able to look at it while we do it. If we were to type this in fresh, bucket is what we're calling. And if we had not typed any of these imports in, it would now give us an error that we have to. Okay? And we talked about that in the first version, so I'm not going to go back to it. But bucket is the API that we're calling. Okay? It's a it's called a super, but not to get you confused, just think of it as a really big public. So big of a public that other things can call it. Okay? And because we've added it, because we're calling it from here, even if it says bucket, it's also craft bucket. Okay? So we got bucket, and we hit period, and now we have some options. We've gone through this. Just understand that the process and their logic is it's like nesting dolls. So when you're looking at the API, whether it be through these little pop-up windows that show proposal options, and you can go through them. MOTD, you can get the name of the bucket, you can get an IP for the server, you can get a whole bunch of stuff. Okay? But if you wanted to start to break it down into nestings, the next thing that they want is they want to say, okay, so you call them the bucket API, and now we want to get the server, which was one of those options there, by the way. And then we want to do a plugin manager because we want to look at the server's plugins. If you notice, I can actually type some of this stuff in, and it starts breaking down the options. Oh, look, there's plugin manager. So if you kind of know something, but you're not sure what it is, you're like, oh, it's a get, because that's the most popular thing to put. So if you're trying to set a variable or get something, there is kind of this standard that the bucket API and Java even uses, but bucket specifically is get is to grab some information. If there was a set option, oh look, we could set the options. So you can see we could set default game mode for our game or for our server. We can set timeouts. We can set spawn radiuses, whitelisting, all just from the bucket API baseline right there. So let's go back into what we want. We get plugin manager. If you notice, now it's not showing. You're like, oh, it's broken. Well, if I had gone back and deleted that dot and then press dot again, period, whatever you guys want to call it, it brings that up again. So if you ever lose whatever because you're typing something oh no, it's not right, just go back and redo it, and it will continue from any period point that you do it. So get plugin manager. And then we want to, so now we're looking at, if you think about this as nesting dolls, Bucket API, we've got our server. Now we've got our server's plugin manager, which if we had 20 plugins, we could like get names of different plugins. We could we could modify which list. So if anyone was doing like a slash plugin command, which is a default bucket command, slash PL or slash plugin, we could actually modify that list. Just let you know, like we could take this, do some different code that we're going to do, and we can actually add in fake plugins, remove other ones. We could override the list completely, all sorts of crazy stuff. But for today, we're just going to want to get our own plugin. Okay, notice it says get plugins or get plugin. So anytime you see this like get plugin, especially when they got a plural and they have brackets, then it's going to be some sort of group set. Okay, and we notice that because it says plugin brackets and plugin manager. Now plugin manager is a special custom set type for Bucket, and that's why when I first started doing Minecraft plugins, this is the stuff that got me most frustrated because I knew Java enough that I was looking for them to say, oh, it's like an integer or it's a string. And these are all subtypes as plugin manager. And that's actually a class. So I don't want to confuse you guys right now on how to do custom classes and constructors and all that stuff yet, because we're going to do that. But just understand that this is when it says the brackets, it means that there's a set. It's going to give you a string of answers, a set of answers in some sort of thing. Whereas this one, get plugin, it's looking for you to say what plugin or something. And the most common way they do that is string arg0. That's like the example. Once again, it's a type string. Arg0 is it literally means argument. So when we type this in, and it gives us, unlike before, even when I selected this one, there was no arguments in here because we were like going through the nesting dolls. This is the first time where like now we like kind of need something. So they have some options for us. Arg0 means nada. It's their like made up variable to just cover everything, to give you a clue as to what they're going for. And if I chose null, if you guys remember from the first one, it would give me that purple null, which means that there's no answer. It's like a special word. It's a magic word. Just like extenses, class, public. These are all special words that mean very specific things in Java. Just like null means nope, null answer. No, it's nothing, nada, nothing there. But we don't have to use any of these. In fact, if you notice, we type in the very specific answer of KOTC tutorial. Now, if we did this wrong, and I haven't tested this code, I just set it up for you guys. It's possible that KOTC's tutorial is not correct and could be wrong because there's no check on this variable. There's nothing controlling it. If we set up another variable in a different way, we could have got a check on it. But it's possible that this doesn't mean nada. Okay? Because let's say we had a typo. Let's say we did, oh, tutorial. Like that's nothing. So if we don't have an actual plugin name and it's not spelled correctly, it won't return any results right now. But if it does, then what we've just, oops, see, I actually had an extra T. If it does, then now we're actually, in theory, have defined everything up to, now we're looking at only our plugin. That was our goal. We've looked at the Bucket API, we got our server, we got the service plugin manager, which allowed us to get the plugins, which then allowed us to, oh look, now we can get name. And you're like, but you just typed in the name. And yes, I could have ignored all of this. I could have deleted it, and I could have literally just gone And remember, everything ends with a semicolon in all your lines. And if I had done this, then every time I called in plugin name, it would say this. I could have done that. The reason I added all this garbity goop is so that it's kind of silly, but one, I want to teach you guys on how to kind of get parts of this in there, and we're going to start looking at it. But the other reason I did it is that instead of me having to go through and change plugin name and what it equaled for every single time, I can copy this code over to our active plugin, which is not public, um, and whoops, and I could come up here and I could just, instead of doing KOTC tutorial, I could type something in here. I could be like super awesome, and now it would say super awesome. And if I have called this variable on multiple classes and multiple packages throughout all the code, like as the code grows, I only have to change in one place, right here. I only change it right here. Now I could have done that the same on this main class, and we will do that. But I, like I said, for tutorial purposes, I wanted to show you how do I get the name that's defined in here. I could also do the exact same thing for version. If I typed in, you're going to notice, if I typed in get, one of the options down here is not version. I'm looking stupid now. It should be version. Dot get. That's so weird. Alright, it should be in there. I will have to look to see why version is not. It might be a subset. And let me show you how I do that. How am I going to look that up? Well, let's minimize this. We're going to go to JD, like javadocs.bucket.org. If you ever have a question, we're looking at our development builds. Yes, there's a slight difference. But if you notice, this is all built from the Maven stuff, so we're pretty close. Now you're gonna notice there's a Doxygen and a Java Docs. Ignore the Doxygen because that's for something else. Just stay with the Java Docs. So, and also keep in mind that because they haven't updated to 10 yet, we're gonna be slightly different, but for the most part, things are gonna be pretty gosh darn close. Okay, if we wanted to, we could actually go back and we could go beta, and then we could go Java Docs, and then we could get a lower version, the R2. But once again, that's gonna be a problem because we actually want. Let me check something real fast. I'm curious if this. Yeah, don't use the Doxygen. Although the Doxygen, yeah, it's also wrong. Okay. So if we went in here, we could actually go into. Oh my gosh, I hate my mouse right now. Stupid computer, USB. And you can see all the different. I select the one, and then you like, oh, here's the different options. And if these are the actual options, so server, and then we can look for get plugin manager, like all the things that we've done. This is the type. This is what we're calling. So literally, this is how I navigate through, and then boom, boom, boom. What was the next thing? Get server. Now we want to get plugin manager. We got. I think we're on the get plugin manager right now. No, it can't be on the get plugin manager because it's right there. A plugin manager for the server instance. Oh, if you went to like look. Oh, this is a good sign. Returns the UUID. That clearly tells us that we're looking at the right code for using UUIDs. Let's see here. I just press Control F on my thing in case you guys don't know how I'm doing this. There we go. Sorry, I'm having to look. Depreciating nephew. Yeah, plugin. It's a little confusing at first, and I'm actually kind of like skipping some steps right here while I'm not explaining, because I'm wanting to look at. That's not what I want. Not what I want. They may have a couple issues in this version, which is why. See, if we got get version from this point, it's gonna give the server's version, not my plug. Oh, maybe not. No, no, no. It's gonna get the server version, which is gonna be like 1.7.10. It's gonna get the Bugit version, which is like that snapshot thing. So I'm gonna have to double check to see where the variable for that one is. I'll have to look at it a little bit later. I don't want to get too distracted from what we're doing. But in a nutshell, I want to cover two basic concepts here. One, we set a string variable, and we've set it to equal this, and then we're calling it here plugin name, plugin name. If you notice, when I like selected this one, it like also showed me where the other ones are, and if I really needed to do something, I could right click here instead of changing it everywhere, and I actually could come in here, and I might have to look to see where it's at because I haven't done this in a while. But there is a way to change the name of this bastard that propagates for everything in the project or this file. I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not sure. Is it a quick fix? Yes, quick fix. We actually name in the file. We actually rename everywhere. If we rename in workspace, we would literally rename it for everything. So we could like see how they're changed all for everything. That's also a very good way to change a variable that you want to change globally. Now, I can't do that for strings of text. Like, I can't select this and be like, oh, yeah, we're going to change. No, it has to be a variable that we've initialized somewhere. So, at this point, you guys should understand how to initialize a variable, what a variable is, and how we're using it for here. So let's explain how we're using it here. Now, whoops, info, because we can have as many of these as we want. Okay, so if we did this, arg0 is looking for a variable, arg0. So if we were up here to type in public string arg0 equals Steve, then it's going to log Steve. And that would be fine. It really would be. But let's say we wanted to do something like this. Let's say we wanted to do let's do some let's change this one since arg0 is useless. Let's do let's call it brand, and we will say the brand is KOTC. And you know what? Let's even put some brackets around it just for extra fun. So let's then come in here and add in brand space plugin name. Oh, it's erroring. Why is it erroring? Well, it's erroring because, as you've seen from this part of the example, anytime you have a connective part of strings, you actually have to add a plus sign. And what that is literally saying to the game is, what's that called? Is variable plus this is what we're going to spit out. So if we got this in here right now, as it is, this is exactly what it would type in for us. in the log, it would type in KOTC, right? Well, with the brackets, of course. And then it would type in KO, it would type in whatever's in this right here. So super awesome. And then it would say is being enabled. Now I was very careful with my spacing because I wanted you guys to see what crap this pops out. There's no space here, there's no space here. So we might need, if we have variable to variable back to back, we're going to probably need to go plus, quote, space, and now it's inserted a space there. And then if we go over here, we can just actually add a space right there, and now we've added a space right there. And so now the log, when the plugin is enabled, will say KOTC Super Awesome is being enabled. If you don't believe me, we can actually load a test and show you. Except I don't want to have this crap line in there, because that crap line will prevent patch loading. So we saved it. Remember, we saved our program name is Super Awesome right now for some reason. We don't, for this point, we don't need to send an update to the plugin because we're just testing. You guys, this is where you guys would be testing internally. I just want to show you guys, like, oh, if you guys were looking for that problem and you wanted to test, here's how you're going to do it. You can export. You're going to export it as a jar file because all plugins are jar files. This is the name of the file, so we're going to call it KOTC tutorial. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, so Pooh. I wonder if my headset's losing charge. I think I might have not charged it long enough. All right, so I'll try to keep an eye on the talk-o-meter. Yeah, I see that. You guys should be able to hear me right now for this part. All right, so let me go back just a hair and like talk about these concepts that I missed. Good test. All right, good. All right. So what I was saying, in case you guys missed it, was I have exported the jar out. Then I went to my download folders. I'm sorry. Then I went to the folder in which my workspace is in. This is what I've created, this file right here. Now we want to set up a test server, and the test server is going to be created right here. It downloaded this spigot. As you can see, I download most of them. I'm going to rename it. It's just spigot jar because I don't want to be confused here. And now we are going to set up the rest of this. We're going to need some special files. In fact, if you just clicked this, it would try to load it. It's probably going to cause some sort of issue because it doesn't have any variables. Like right. Yeah, that's my fault. I think I left the headset off charge because I was having some technical issues last night, and I forgot to put it back on the charger. So we may cut off a little early today because I just want to set you guys up with a test server and this basic pieces, and then we will start actually doing, because this is all the setup. This is all 2 days worth of setup basically, but I'm going through each component as much as possible. All right, so I'll keep most of my programming stuff in here. Um, ignore that, ignore that. Where's my test? Alright, I'm trying to find my test server, if I even have one anymore. I think I deleted. Alright, I'm gonna try to do this quickly because I just want to finish this last part. for you guys to see how to do your test setup. All right, so let's quickly rotate back. Wrong drive. Test server. All right, so as you can see, when we did all this stuff, it set it up, and I'm not sure if you guys can see this. If we went right here, we would actually be able to see where are you at. I'm looking for Java. I should look at the J's like an intelligent person. Is it under? Did it load it under that? No. It might have literally loaded and then crashed it. Yeah, I think that's what happened to it. Because it's probably on the state right now where it's like, oh, I don't see a world folder, I don't see this, I don't see that. Alright. So a couple things. Let's just, in fact, let me quickly give you this. So if you go to wiki.bukkit.org, setting up a server, you'll actually see for your OS which one you want. All you really need is this. Test? Good. Alright, and let's go back here. So we're going to create a file, create a new text document. We're going to call this one bat. .bat means .batch file. Yes. Now, if you don't see like some sort of weird script icon, then you're going to need to go to Organize, Folder and Search Options, View. First one you want to be Show Hidden Files and Folders. That's always a good thing. But most importantly is this one right here. Hide extensions for known file types. If you deselect that, you'll be able to change file types like I did on the fly without a problem. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go Edit. This needs to become Spigot. And we can save. Of course it can't. I will think about this. Oh, I have to change the... Yeah, so because of my weird setup, if you guys did this, it would then load, give you a full test server, and you guys would be good to go. For me, let's go back one. I go here. Let's just pick this up really fast. Go faster, Ryan, before your mic goes out. Normally you wouldn't need to do that. Once again, it's because I have a weird build for all my development I do. And let's check. Yeah. So I need to adjust some things because I can't even do a workaround like that. However, for you guys, this would get you guys started with a basic server and allow you to. There would be a plugins folder in this location. You would actually drop. We could just like kind of fake that part. Plugins. I want to say it's like a plural. And then you could actually come into workspace, control, test server, plugins, boom, good. So how am I going to work around my Java issue? Let's see here. Test, still got sound. You know what, I think I might have to... Let's see here. I might have to change my variables in Java so I can give you guys a more proper tutorial. Like I said, most of my stuff's set up weird because I do all this other development that's not related to just Java, or not just related to Minecraft. Oh, those are all good. It is enabled. Let's see if that actually exists. Tests sound good. Alright. You guys are probably learning way more about stuff than you need to right now. But the way I got this thing on top of it, I actually, when I started, I typed in Java, and this is the Java control panel. You could also get your control panel and then go to Java control panel. Looking for Java. Jerry 7 bin. Yeah. Which means the global variable for Java is improperly defined. Environmental variable. Alright, so we actually have to, I have to adjust my environmental variables. Cancel, cancel. Boop, 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 boop. Good, I'm still just making sound. Should be like properties. Let's go for advanced. Just taking a guess. Environmental variables. My JDK root is not defined. That's bad. I gotta set my JDK root up if I need it. I do not even see a Java. No. New. Java. Variable value. Where was I just at? Where's my... I should have left my Java control panel open. Huh, my fail. Tests, got sound, good. Okie dokie. Okay, okay. Cancel that, cancel that. What I just basically did, in the most basic sense, in case you guys are like, what the hell was that about? In your computer, you will define things like Java as an environmental variable, and all I've done is modify where that is. So when you type in Java, normally when you set up Java, it automatically defines those variables and stuff, but because of the way that I manage my Java, it doesn't do that anymore. Because I didn't want, it kept overwriting my my customizations. So I think I just like cut that out. Alright, so, oh, you know what? I typed in like capital Java. It should be lowercase Java, I think. Why is it wanting that in that folder? Oh, it's looking for the 64-bit version of Java. Did I install 64-bit version of Java? I think I did. I literally might just skip this part and be like, okay, we're going to resume later. Let me check something out real fast. There is no AMD 64 support in this folder. That is awesome. That is super awesome. Alright. I can do it one other way. Ah, gosh darn it. I so apologize for this delay. Let me make sure my voice is still working. I have to like, 1 second. Yeah, everything is being pointed there for some reason. Okay, so I am going to, for the purposes of my microphone being weird, plus I gotta like set up some variables so I can do like a test server on this thing. Um, I will probably end the session early today. Um, I do apologize. In fact, I may set up an extra one just to cover the other stuff that I wanted to cover. But the issues that I'm having, if anyone's like doing this on their own right now, you guys won't have these issues because you won't have Java being bound to the wrong thing and not having environmental and class variables being defined properly and all that jazz that I do right now. What's up, Boomy? Oh, he needs to go potty. Let's see my class path. Oh, wait, I think I just found out where my class path was improperly defined. No, that's weird. Alright, let's try that. I'm gonna do one more thing. If this doesn't work, then we are done for today. Because I am not going to, I am not going to waste too much time on this. And I want to say all these are probably in the issues that they have because it's like using 32-bit Java for stuff instead of 64-bit Java for some of the stuff. You're like, what's Qt Java? Yeah, don't worry about it. I don't even think I have Qt in. This is what it should be defined as. Slash JVM.cfg. I'm hoping that actually remaps the key variables that I was looking for. Okay. And now let's do a blind test because I am not going to spend too much time on my weird ass server configuration or my computer's weird ass configuration. Oh, and I already changed this, so I gotta undo that. Save. Ah! Hey, at least it went to the right freaking. No, it didn't. It went to Windows again. Why are you going to Windows again? I don't even see a variable defined for Windows. Looking for the Windows variable defined. Why don't I see? Let me look at my class path. I'm just gonna copy it from my class path. I don't think Java is supposed to be set that way. I think it's supposed to be set the other way. Alright guys, with that, I'm going to fix my environment on this computer just so I can give you guys the rest of the tutorial. And then, I don't know what I'll do. I might either do something special where I do a special session, or we might just cover it and literally start digging into the more of the coding next week. Um, Sorry, once again my mic just cut out. Once again, if you guys did this, you guys shouldn't have the issue right now. Um, this is literally because of like all the weird programming that unless you guys have been doing all the weird programming, you guys won't have the same issue. But because of my headset and this other issue, I will fix my so I can do this for